Hello, everyone. I'm filling in for Jason. My name is Gabe. I'm excited to be your host, your teacher today. Excited to share with you guys a tool that has helped me stay organized. I tend to do things in my head, but when I write on paper, it makes things very clear. It's also what I use myself to work with when I do my strategy calls with my money mentees and my clients, my students. My name is Gabriel Ratana. I'm filling in for Jason Sipple today. I'm 35. I'll be turning 36 on Saturday. I'm a money mentor with the Money Multiplier, and my specialty is working with families who have businesses. Okay, just like Nelson Nash talks about, is everyone should be in two businesses: their primary income generating business and their banking business. I've been trying to focus on the symbiotic relationship between owning a business and doing IBC. So I've been practicing IBC since 2019. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt and I own a school, among other businesses. And I've been able to bring some of my biggest dreams to life using infinite banking. I co-hosted the 9-week black belt boot camp with Jason, and you guys are all blessed to have him and Patty pouring into you to help you grow and achieve your goals. So today I want to share with you a tool that I use in my financial life, the Financial Freedom Tracker. And I do have some slides for you so you can see it. Okay, black belt clarity, how to use the Financial Freedom Tracker to unlock strategy calls superpowers. Okay, strategy call superpowers. The purpose of this training, so you don't hire a coach to count the reps, you hire them to see what you can't see. And a quote from Nelson Nash that I apply to a lot of things in life actually is if you understand what's going on, you will know what to do. So that's the purpose of this tracker. And the objective for the training is to help students to get clear, precise, and aligned with their money mentor by mastering the Financial Freedom Tracker so they can leverage mentorship time like a pro and make decisions from clarity, not chaos. Before we go on to this, I wrote a couple things. So the Financial Freedom Tracker can be your dashboard. It's your mirror. It shows you exactly where you stand so you can move with precision, power, and strategy. Money mentors are most powerful when you come to them with clean data. Okay, so when I make my financial decisions, I like to have these numbers in front. And then when I'm meeting with clients, I use a variation of this, but I try to make this one comprehensive yet simple. And my jiu-jitsu teacher and coach is Sensei Shanji Hibero, and he has been a black belt for 25 years. I've been a black belt for 1 year, and this guy is light years ahead of me. So when I train with him, he can pick up on all my inefficiencies. And in jiu-jitsu, it's all about being effective, efficient, and then eventually effortless. Think of your mentor like a black belt coach. They can only help you if they know kind of like your position and your movement, okay? And we've been where you are now. Some of you might be further ahead than me, Jason, or other money mentors as far as business. But as far as taking back control of your money and creating a banking business, it's a process. And everyone starts from zero until eventually 15, 20 years in, you've replaced the financial bullies in your life, okay? And I'll start to talk about that a little bit. But let's start out with a little bit of a mindset shift. So, what is wealth? Remember, wealth is measured in time, not dollars, okay? So, I took this idea and it hit me really hard from Robert Kiyosaki. He says that wealth is the number of days you can survive without physically working and still maintain your standard of living. Okay, so wealth isn't measured by how much you make, is measured by how long you could live if you stopped working today. If your passive income, so from assets like real estate, businesses, or other investments, covers your expenses, you're wealthy, regardless of your salary. And this definition shifts the focus from earning a paycheck to building cash flowing assets that generate income, whether you work or not. So, keeping that in mind, there's a little equation to figure out wealth. Okay, so we want to take our liquid net worth and divide that by our burn rate. Our burn rate is how much money you spend each month, and our net worth is calculated when you take your assets and you subtract your liabilities. So for example, if you combine your assets, your cash, the equities in your home, equities in your business, and you divide it by your burn rate. So in this situation, this person has $500,000 in net worth and they spend $5,000 per month. their wealth is 100 months. Okay. As soon as they run out of that money, 100 months later, they have to go back to work. So their wealth is 8 years and 4 months. But what happens if this person has $8,000 in passive income? Now, oh, sorry, this is a typo. It should be $5,000 in passive income. Their burn rate is zero. And what happens when you divide by zero, right? You can't divide by zero if you remember in math. Dare we say this is infinite wealth, maybe? So I'm going to start with this idea. I believe there's three levels of freedom. This just kind of helps me organize it in my mind. Other people might think different, but there's a little bit of a progression. And the first one is security and independence, where you're able to provide for your family and you eliminated the financial bullies in your life. You don't owe anyone anything. Here, your active income is higher than your burn rate. And in our burn rate, we're also including, how much our expenses, our liabilities, how much money is leaving our family, okay? But if we are able to eliminate the financial bullies, we're at the financial bullies, third-party lenders, the IRS. If we're able to, can't always eliminate the IRS completely, but we can minimize that. Level 2 freedom is where your passive income is $1 more than your bills. That way, your net worth is never really going down. We're always going up. And then level 3 is generational freedom, where your cash flow is 10 times your burn rate. Okay, I saw someone write something in the chat. Got a good, okay, great example. Good. I'm glad it's helping. Something to keep in mind is rest at the end, not in the middle. I took this from Kobe Bryant. It's a wonderful saying. My biggest mistake was being complacent at number 2. Take advantage of your newfound time freedom by putting your money and creativity to work to systematize and scale your skills. So I'm going to be talking a lot about today about the income producing business and that as a focus. I shifted away from the passive income mindset. I was trying to get my passive income to be higher than my bills. That can really only get you so far. To get to level 3, you need a business that generates money. And what's a business? It's just building a system and leveraging, capital, other people, and other things so that you solve people's problems. And that's all we're doing. We're exchanging time for money, but in a systematized way. So let me start taking you through this. Okay. We've done a training. I did it with Jason when it was called the Black Belt Boot Camp. And we went over 5 roles people play in their life as a depositor, as a borrower, as a lender, the bank owner, and the business owner. We want to eventually be all of those so we're not having people leverage us. So if we use someone else's bank, they're getting wealthy off of us. If we're not the business owner, we're getting leveraged by that business owner to make them more money, okay? We're gonna add one more, which is property owner, okay? Anyone in this chat own any property? Say, write a 1 if you own property, write a 2 if you have income producing property. So if it generates cash flow. Let's see, just my home, it's good. Shane, I just got a home, man. So excited. I haven't owned a personal residence since 2013. I've bought and invested in real estate, but for rentals, but I haven't had a personal home in a long time. So I'm excited to be a homeowner again. Okay, awesome. I'm all about the cash producing assets. And I want to show you my asset stack, okay? This is the way I own a fourplex, but it's under construction right now, so just my residence for now. Good. The fourplex has potential. That was one of my first investments, was a four unit row home in Baltimore. Thank you for the upcoming birthday. Yeah, I'm excited. So here, I want to make money in more places than one. So here's how we become a money multiplier, okay? When money comes in, I take that money and I put it into my infinite banking policy. The policy then takes the money and is loaning it to the bank, okay? So in this case, the policy is a depositor to the bank. The bank lends it to my LLC, okay? My bank also lends on the other side businesses I do, whether it's on properties or whatever else I got going on, okay? And then here, now that I have a home, it's actually a farm, my jujitsu school actually is gonna be able to pay for it, okay? So my money is making money in several places, in the policy, in the banking business, in the jiu-jitsu school, and then the property eventually is going to generate income. I've been looking at all kinds of options, and I think we've settled on sheep for dairy. A gallon of sheep milk goes for $50 per gallon. So, and we tried it yesterday for the first time. My baby loved it. And what's really cool is when people are typically lactose intolerant, the sheep milk, it doesn't have the same kind of proteins that cow milk does. So it's I think it's A2. So it actually doesn't even affect me. I'm lactose intolerant, but the sheep milk didn't affect me, which was really cool. Also eggs, we're going to produce some eggs, and eventually, hopefully, the property pays for itself. Here, I also have a job, by the way. I work for the family painting business. So any income that I have from my W-2 goes in there. It all kind of just flows to me, right? The profits from the bank, from the jiu-jitsu income, from the property, side hustle income. I want it to trickle down because this money is fuel for these businesses to work, okay? My jiu-jitsu school requires money to stay open, rent, marketing, licensing, bunch of different things. If I get to a point where my school doesn't need any more money to be injected into it and my family bank has reserves and I need to put the money to work, then I can look at maybe buying other assets or eliminating some debt. Or if eventually once it's big enough, it can pay off the mortgage on the property. Okay. So I wanted to give you just a visual so this can help with the tracker. So let's get right into it. I want to show you first the tracker, and then I'm going to show you the pieces. Okay, so we have our net worth. Then we go through the assets, starting with you. You're the first asset. Your whole life policies, that's the next asset. Banking business, we're going to have a portfolio. Your income producing business, properties. I know I'm going fast, but I'm going to hit each one by one, okay? Liabilities, cash flow, and at the bottom, lazy money. So the first one, we went over how this worked. I'm going to skip right into the next one. Here, and I think you guys can still see me, this is how this started, from doing it in my head to just putting it on paper to now I put into a Excel sheet, and I'm happy to share this with you guys later. There's still a little kinks in it, and if you guys want to help me work out all the bugs, that'd be amazing. So just cash you have in your bank account, W-2 income, if you have side income, expenses, and then profits. This can be from your all of them combined. Whatever you want to put on here is really just for you to keep it in front of you. And then things that maybe aren't money related, but you can leverage them to make money, which is your skills, knowledge, expertise, relationships. So if maybe you're not here and you don't like what you see on this side, now one thing I like to do is to start making a list of like how I can leverage what I have to start creating a little bit of money. Okay, I'm in year six, seven of infinite banking, but I began this financial freedom journey when I was 22 in maybe like 2012. So it's been a little while, and I'll take you a little bit through some of it. But right now, my cash in the bank, I have $4,000 in my checking account. W-2 income is I make $4,000 a month after taxes. My side income is about 2,500, and I'll go over what some of this is. My expenses are 8,000 per month, and the profits, this is just the profits for my jiu-jitsu school. It's 3,000 per month. So the total income, 9,500 that comes in, and my expenses are 8,000 here, okay? Now we have a place for our policies. I have two policies. I'll show you how they work, or my numbers in a second. But here, the important metrics are cash value, premium, cash value growth, cash on cash return, the loans you have taken out, and your death benefit, okay? When you meet with your money mentor, they might know this. They should know what you have in your policies, but you don't want to rely on them to keep tabs on you. You want to know these numbers yourself. You should know this way better than your money mentor. Okay. For your income producing business, at the top, we're going to have the value of the business, income, expenses, the profit, number of customers, customer acquisition costs, the lifetime value of a customer, and a ratio of, oops, this is a typo. It should be LTV, lifetime value to the cost to acquire a customer, okay? So this can get very in the weeds of how to value a business, but if you do own a business, you kind of want to know these numbers. And what percentage of the income is coming from one-time sales, recurring sales, or reoccurring sales? Okay. I'll go over what the differences in those. And then with property, it's property that you own and control. So this property, you can rent it, you can license it, you can sell it. We have real property, okay? Houses, rentals, farm, land, digital property, intellectual property, and then I put on here passive businesses under property just because if it's an active business, we probably want to treat that a little bit separately. Liabilities, consumer debt, vehicles, mortgage, business debt. You can always add more things that are relevant to you, but we do want to be able to see the total personal debt, the total business debt. Sean says, I love this. Good. And this is very customizable, and eventually you can even make it so that like the formulas will tabulate. I'm not quite there yet. Here for cash flow, what I love about this one is not only do you see a current picture of what you have, you get to see also make some projections and goals. So 5 years away, 10 years away. I mean, I could have done this 20 years, 50 years, however you want to track this. Then also what happens if you graduate, okay? And here we want to be able to calculate the net cash flow and how much is passive income. Okay. And then lazy money. This one's important to know because your money mentor will help you leverage this lazy money to achieve your goals and help you achieve your goal, help you solve your money problem. Okay. So for me, I have two policies. One's in year 6. The cash value in this one's 120,000. My other one is at 102,000. It's really in year 1, but I just put the year 2 numbers. But it started with 102,000 here. What's really cool though is the cash value growth. So this actually is going to be in your, yeah. So this year when I deposit $8,000, my cash value is going to grow by 13,261. So the cash on cash return is 166%. And when I deposit 15,000 this year, this is not quarterly, but at the end of the year of year 2, my cash value will have grown by 16,000. So this is year 2. This is a Lafayette Life policy and a Money Trees in year 2. So what's really cool is the cash on cash is higher just the second year. What I love about our community with the money multiplier and all the money mentors is we learn from each other. We're practicing. We're infinite banking practitioners, and we look at best practices to help us adapt these strategies to make it fit our life, okay? My loans, I have 204,000 total in loans that I have out working for me. And one of my policies is 109, the other one's 94. My death benefit, I have 3.45 million total in death benefit, okay? So my family's protected. And I'm not saying this to impress you guys, just impress upon you. You want to have an ability to track this, right? And see so that you can make good decisions. These are just my numbers. They might change next month, especially now that I bought the farm. It's been a lot of big changes, and you'll see what my mortgage is on it. Before I was renting, but even still, my rent was so expensive. But let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, for the banking business, the cash on hand is just what I have in cash value available to be loaned out, or sorry, what I have as available loans, okay? So this, I call this an opportunity fund, and I want to figure out the best use of this money. Do I lend it to my jiu-jitsu school? Do I use it to invest in income producing assets? The loans I have, the way I treat this is one policy is personal, the other one is for the business. So policy number 1, I have 110,000 loaned to myself, and the cash flow I pay myself right now is 13,468 per year. So this number is the interest that I have to pay the insurance company plus the premium for the next year. Okay, so as a minimum, I want to at least pay myself back this, and if I want to pay more, I can. But as a minimum, I at least got to pay this back to myself. And my business right now is not at the level I want it to be as far as number of students, but it is paying 21,631 per year in cash flow. Okay, so my second policy, I fully fund it with income from my jiu-jitsu school. Okay, and just to give you some numbers on the school, for easy numbers, here I have about 50 students and they pay 150 per month. So that's 750 a month that comes in recurring. It's mostly recurring. If you guys see the percentages down here, recurring is just the monthly dues people pay. It's about 80% of the income. Reoccurring would be like merchandise, uniforms, t-shirts. That's about 10% of the income. One-time sales is about 10%. So maybe someone comes to do like a month and they don't come back, or just something where it doesn't really become recurring. Okay. My expenses is 4,500 a month. That's majority rent. My rent is about 3,200 per month. And so my profit here is 3,000 per month. The cost for me to acquire a new customer through all the things I got to do for like marketing and sales to get someone in, it cost me about $1,000 to bring in a customer, like a good one. And what's really cool though is the lifetime value is I put 10,000. So this is an average. So with us, we either have someone that comes for, they'll do maybe 3 months and they don't come back. Or if they actually like it, they're going to stay for a long time. Some might only do a year or two. They give it a shot, but it's not really like something for them. But if they like jujitsu, there's no better place to train than with me. I'm fully confident in that. And if they're paying $150 per month, on average, it takes people 10 to 15 years to get a black belt. So I just say 10 years times 150 per month. Oops. 150 times 12, that's 1,800 per year, times 10 years. That'd be $18,000 in lifetime from that person. But I just put 10 just to be a little conservative and make it easy. So there's a 10-to-1 cost of acquisition, or lifetime value to cost of acquisition. So back here where I have an opportunity fund of $7,700, maybe I put that into marketing so that I can get maybe a 10-to-1 return. The only thing is, it's going to take 10 years, or in this case, maybe 5 years to get that full 10,000. Okay, so I got to manage my cash flow well so that I can cash in on that lifetime value. All right, but I'm not going to go too deep into that. Then we have property. Here, I bought a farm with using my policy. I used a loan. I paid 5% down and I used my policy loan to pay for that 5%. Okay. I also then did some renovations. It was actually quoted about 250,000 was the estimate for the renovations to bring the house up to speed. It's a 1920s farmhouse, so it's 105 years old. A lot of things just had to be completely redone. It wasn't well kept, so I did have to put a lot of money into it. But it wasn't 250,000. I did it for about 50 at the most, okay? And so my equity position now, I haven't got an appraisal on it, but I could probably tell you the house is worth 900,000. We have 11 acres, and if you take away what I owe in the mortgage, it's about 220,000 in equity. So I leveraged the equity in my policy to buy an asset, and then that one created equity as well, okay? And what's really cool about this is untaxed. Okay, so I added 220,000 to my net worth, and that's taxed. Okay, if I were to sell the house, then there's ways that, as a primary residence, if you live there for 2 out of 5 years, I forget what the cap is. I think it might be 250 if you're single, 500,000 if you're married, for capital gains where you won't get taxed on it. Okay, but the other cool thing is maybe 5 years, this property might be worth 1.5 million if I can just upkeep it and continue to upgrade it and turn into a productive farm. However, my expenses are 6,000 per month. Okay, the mortgage is pretty high on it. It's 7.99% interest, and it's 6,000. It's 5,800. I just put 6,000. But before I was paying 3,500 a month in rent anyway. We have 5 kids. It's 7 of us, so we need a house where you can fit. And I was paying very, very high rent anyway. Now I don't have that rent payment, but I still have this negative cash flow of $6,000. I still have I have other properties, but I just wanted to add one. The value of this one is 300,000. It's a 4 unit in Baltimore. I actually bought this property for 30,000. We put in about 40,000 into it and it got appraised for 300,000. We did a cash out refi and I took out about $100,000 and that's what I actually used to fund my second policy. Okay, so if you guys see this policy here, number two, I did $100,000 dump in and I used the money from this property to fund that policy, okay? And then I used that money to fund my jiu-jitsu school, pay off some debt. The income from that property is 3,500 per month. The expenses are 2,500 per month. So the cash flow is 1,000. I also have an Airbnb business. I used to be more active, but I started kind of getting rid of all my side hustles so that I could focus on growing the jiu-jitsu school. I still make about $600 per month. I have a cool agreement with my uncle. He moved back to Costa Rica and he left it fully furnished. Before I was paying him 2,000 a month to rent the house and I got to keep everything I made from Airbnb. I had to pay for the cleaner. So I was renting the house, but about 2,000 and then I would make between 3,500 and 5,000 per month. The income was nice and it covered all my bills. But what's cool about this one is very stress-free. I don't have to worry if about keeping the house occupied. It used to be a huge hustle, and if my cleaning lady wasn't able to do like the same day turnover, I would have to go do it. So I just have a cool agreement where I run the app, I get 15%, I schedule the cleaning lady, and that's it. He gets 85%, I get 15%. I don't really have to do too much other than text cleaning lady and approve people on the Airbnb app. Liabilities. I do have $30,000 in credit card debt right now. That's how I paid for all the materials for my house, okay? I'm gonna get rid of this either with a policy or a HELOC. I'm not gonna get into too much of that, but it is a reality. It's what I have. So I have it here. My payment is just the minimum. It's about $600 a month. I have a car. It's $21,000 in a balance and the payment is about $600 per month. Here, I've had this car maybe like 3 years and I thought about, well, maybe should I buy it with a policy or should I get a loan on it? It was at the point where I was about to open my jiu-jitsu school. So I opened the school instead of with about the same amount of money, actually about 40,000. So I bought the asset and now the asset makes me income that pays for the car. Okay, I still want to get rid of this because there's some opportunity there to get rid of it. I got the mortgages, business debt. I have about 10,000 in third-party debt and 100,000 for the Ratana Family Bank that I owe. So my LLC will pay those the same way I pay a third-party creditor. I pay about 1,500 a month back to myself. So total my liabilities and my business, okay? Now cash flow. And I don't want to take too long. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys with a tracker. We still have my income, you guys remember saw it was 9,500. When you take away the 8,000 a month, that's 1,500 in the cash flow. If I were to graduate today, tomorrow, okay, I lose a 4,000 a month in active income, but I would still, so my, we'd have negative cash flow if I'm gone. The cash value growth here for this one, I took the growth of the cash value minus what I put in that year for the premium. So this year it's positive 6,624. Okay. If I were to graduate, I would get or my family would get a huge influx of cash. That would be 3.4 million. In 2030, my cash value will grow by $13,000 more than my premiums. Okay, in 2035, it'll grow $23,000 more than my premium. Here for my banking business, I only have two people I lend to right now. It's my LLC, my jiu-jitsu school, and myself for sometimes making ends meet. But right now, if you take away what I have to pay the life insurance companies for the interest, my banking business is making 23,000 per year. That's also the same amount that I have for my policy deposits. So the money that comes in for the banking business, I'm able to use that as my premiums on when my policies are due. Okay, my goal is to try to get all my money into policies first and then use those to purchase assets that produce more income. My jiu-jitsu school, it does about 3,000 a month, so that's 3,600 per year. Here I didn't really know what to say. So if I graduate, are people gonna quit? Is Amy, my partner, is she gonna take over and run the school? I don't know. She has a choice to do what she wants. She could probably sell it or run it, whatever she wants to do. She loves to train, so maybe she'll hold on to it until Koa, my son, is able to take over. My goal in 5 years is to be at 150 students at a minimum. I would love to be there next year. If that happens, now my income's at about 300,000 per year, and this is net, so after expenses. The way jujitsu works is, I have a fixed cost, which is my rent, which is the majority of it. But once all my expenses are paid, the next 100 students, so it takes about 40 students to pay all the bills. Then the next, 110, it's all, not all profit, but the majority is top line profit. And then in 10 years, I would love to be at least 250 students, and that'll be about $500,000 in income. My property, the cash flow is negative, so it's about 6,000 per month, so that's 72,000 per year. If I graduated today, they still got to make the payments. Okay, sorry, so that should be, I guess, yearly, but it's 6,000 a month, unless Amy decides to pay off the property with the life insurance. So we owe 680 on it. She's gonna get over 3 million, so she's able to pay that off if that's what she wants to do. Okay, then extra income, side hustles, affiliate, referral income. And I didn't really get too much in the weeds about how much of the income is passive. And what's really cool is, I was so focused on creating passive income so I didn't have to work, but I found a better balance where it's like kind of semi-passive, where it's low maintenance, things that I love to do that I would be doing anyway. So it's not quite passive income. It does require some effort, but really nothing is passive income unless you're just making interest. If you got $1 million making 5% on it, cool, and that could be some passive income. But to be honest, it all takes some work. So you just got to decide where you want to put your energy. Other lazy money. Okay, so farm equity, investment property equity, and then equity from the school. So I just put that there. So let's look at my net worth. So if you take all my assets and you subtract the liabilities, we come out to about $410,000 as of today. And my burn rate is 8,000 per month. So that's 68 months. That's my wealth, 68 months. If I stop working, I still have, say, 1,600 in passive income. So this is rental from the property in Baltimore and the Airbnb. That's pretty passive too. My burn rate is then reduced to 6,400. So now my wealth would be 64 months. So it goes up from 51 months to 64. Oh, sorry, this was a mistake. It should have been 51 months. Bad math. Okay, so I would run out of money in 51 months if I stopped working, but because of my passive income, actually it would extend out to 64 months. Okay, but the way we learn here, we don't want to deplete our, this is just an example. I don't want to deplete this, right? I want to keep growing this. And if we can get our passive income, or I guess even our active income, to make sure it covers the burn rate, we can just continue to compound this number here, okay? So hopefully you guys can see a little bit of how this stacks. I want to get all the money that comes in, eventually from the property, from the jiu-jitsu, from the family bank, and I want to run it all through the system so it can keep fueling itself, okay? The policies will fuel the bank. If I have a captive customer here, right? I loan to the jiu-jitsu school, and then if I have money left over that I don't need in the bank, I can invest that into maybe a different business, but I also don't want to get distracted. And then the property, the asset, the jiu-jitsu school is it pays for the property. Not fully right now, it pays a good portion of it. If I get rid of my rent, which is 3,200 a month, I actually have a 1,500 square foot garage where I'm thinking about moving the school to, but I also have an idea of going to a shopping center. My goal to get to 150 students, we'd actually do it way faster if I go to the shopping center, but I would have to make up the difference in the mortgage. So the original plan was to I was paying $3,500 a month in rent for my personal residence where I was living, and $3,200 a month in rent for the jiu-jitsu school. So that right there, we're looking at, what is that, $6,700 a month in rent. Okay. So if I can step in and become the owner, now, kind of pay rent to myself, I'm the landlord, but at least now I'm building equity. So I needed to decide, do I want to eliminate that huge bleed of rent for the jiu-jitsu school by going to my property, or do I want to kind of go big or go home? I go to a shopping center and there we can explode. And what I'm probably gonna do is do both. I'm gonna convert the garage into a jiu-jitsu school, into the dojo, and also be at the shopping center. They're about 5 minutes apart. And it's a little bit smaller, but what I'm gonna do is have like a general, like not like commercialized, but a little more relaxed atmosphere for beginners. And then the people that are really serious about jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna take them back to the farm. So I'm gonna use that to find people and have like a storefront, and then maybe have an upsell to go and train with me at the farm. Okay, but this is where some ideas are. Now, let's see if you're still here. You got some good ideas for me. It's now your turn to coach me. What opportunities do you see? What risks do you see? I know you don't have all the numbers in front of you, but I want to see if you guys have. John asked, was all this designed with the guidance of your IBC money mentor? Yes and no. My mentor is Brent, who's the founder of the Money Multiplier. His main thing is being a money lender, right? I know he has at least $10 million out in loans. He makes over $1 million a year in just, interest. But he also has Airbnbs and all kinds of different opportunities going on. But what some people miss is he had multiple clinics. He ran the money through the policy, through his policies from his chiropractic clinics. He paid his paid his doctors with the policies. He created even like retirement funds for them using policies, and he would, work it. So if you own a business, this can go way faster. Any thoughts on lending on PMC for more cash infusion? Yes, the cash infusion, I have been thinking about it, but if you do the numbers, you get way better returns if you invest in your business, right? As long as your business is profitable. If I had a business that wasn't going to work, then I wouldn't. I would probably be looking at different things. But the way I'm positioned in jiu-jitsu right now, I can get to, a very, very nice living and get the most returns from just having my business grow. Now, the other thing is when my business grows, because think about in the PMC, when you're lending, they're taking the money and they're putting it to work. They're making money on the equity, right? So here I'm growing the equity of my business, and then I'm leveraging that equity to create more cash flow. So I'm kind of keeping everything in-house. Once I have a lot more money, I can diversify and invest into PMC and other investments. I not that I went hard, but I did my best to just make it as a real estate investor. But what I've learned is that the people that make the most money are the lenders and the contractors. Okay, so with the painting business, we decided to focus on the painting business. I left the painting business to focus on jiu-jitsu. I actually had equity in the business. We do new construction apartments, and our company does between 5 million and 10 million a year in just revenue. And we do about 25 to 30% profit margins. So I gave up 6-figure dividends because if, I'm not working for the company, I don't deserve the dividends anymore, right? And I left to go open my jiu-jitsu school. And I would have a lot more money, obviously, if I was still fully vested. I work for the company part-time. I do about 30 hours a week. And I needed to have a W-2 to qualify to buy a house, okay? Also with the son, he's newborn. He'll be turning 1 year old in June. I need to just make more money. That makes sense. You're increasing the overall value of the business and property. Exactly. So I'm using my cash flow, and there were big moves, but I kind of lined it all up so that it would work out for me, okay? Instead of trying to piece together a lending portfolio, which eventually I'll be able to do. But right now, I want to keep the money within my system and use it the way that I need to. Anyone else have thoughts, ideas? If you want a copy, you can email me, gabriel@gabrielretana.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. And if you need me to help customize it for you, I'm happy to do that. I want to make this thing really easy to use so that when I work with a new money mentee or new client, they can take it, fill it out, and then from there, I'm able to see what opportunities they have and how I can help. Yeah, please. Yeah, Sean, just go ahead and email me. But that's it. Do you guys have any questions? I try to not go too fast, but it's 3:50. I also didn't want to take too long. You can consider one flip a year, or yeah, your passive income increase through social media marketing. I've done flips, man. It's not super easy, but some people are good at it. Like my first flip took me like 2 years. But there was one where I bought a hoarder house. I got it from a wholesaler. He was like, are you still investing in this area? And he wanted like 90 grand for it. I bought it and then I listed on the MLS. They call this wholetailing, and I sold it for 140. So I made 40 grand, and all I had to do was spend maybe, or like 50 grand, and all I had to do was clean out the hoarder situation. It was like $1,000 to clean it all out. But to have success in real estate, you have to be looking for the deals, and I want to focus and not be chasing shiny objects. Not that it's wrong, but if I can get my school to be at a really good number, and then get the property to pay for itself too. And that was one of my goals here, was to see in 2030. The cash flow is zero. So it means the $6,000 a month is getting paid for by the property. That's one of my goals here. Thanks, Christian. I hope it helped. This is my first time training this, so thank you for being patient. The next time, I think it will be better, and I want to work out all the kinks to just be able to help people at a higher level. I'm sure I'll be back with Jason and I are going to do the Black Belt Boot Camp again. But if you look at the Becoming Your Own Banker book, in the grocery store example, it seemed like Nelson was into building one business. And I like to learn on YouTube, and I've been watching a lot of different people build life-changing businesses, having $100 million exits, things like that. And what happens is you need to have recurring customers. You have to have a way of getting customers efficiently and being able to spend money getting customers and keeping them for life. And that's kind of my goal with the jiu-jitsu school, is build a school where people stay forever, and then use that money to continue to invest into the school, leverage the equity to continue to make it grow, run the money through the policies. And as the policies get bigger, I can use that money to either loan to myself, or could be toys, or to buy more assets that pay for the toys. Okay, but I don't want to touch my principal. I want my principal to grow and compound forever. Okay. What? Oh, I opened right at the end of COVID. I opened 2022. So when everyone was getting out, I was getting in. Yeah, that's what I did. But I needed to make sure that if something happened, we got shut down, I could cover the rent, and position myself. But it was very risky. I went into it with almost like no money. I just came out of a divorce too. So I kind of started over from scratch with literally like nothing. So if it was about just money, I probably would have stayed with a painting company. Looking back, I probably would be in a way better position right now. But it's with the infinite banking, you're able to bring your dream to life, right? And that's kind of what I want to do, because wealth is measured in time, not money, right? And what I do with my time, I want to be able to enjoy it. I still help the painting business, and I want to help them grow. Maybe one day they'll give me equity again, but I don't want to get anything that I don't deserve. Thank you, everyone. I'll get you the tracker, whoever emails me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye, everyone.